Welcome back to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber.
And I'm Zane Courtney.
And we're here to entertain you with electric vehicle and alternative energy stuff today. Got lots of it. We might as well start with that picture that's on the green screen behind us. This was a
nice
picture.
house. You described it as a shack in the pre-show. There's no shack here. It's very nice.
Well, you see the orange terracotta building there?
I do.
The guy bought it as basically a shack. It's about 150 feet from the Pacific Ocean at Crystal Beach.
Nice.
So the ocean is within walking distance. You know, within about a minute you can have sand between your toes. And so I asked him, he's sitting there, I don't know, let me move out of the way. Yeah, he's sitting there drinking a beer, you all right? And so I said, hey, you know, we started chatting, and he told me he bought the place for $1.8 million, and it's like under 500 square feet.
He bought it as a shack.
He bought it as a shack, yeah, put
$1
the stucco on it, and did a great job with the plants, although they may have been there when he bought it. But what amazed me is that you're into seven figures for a shack just because of location. But that's the rule in real estate.
Prime real estate.
Location.
Location.
But it is a nice lifestyle. You see,
Very
he's
cool.
sitting there shirtless, drinking a beer, just chilling. Heck of a place. And you know, around this, Crystal Beach, you've got so much to do and see. Within walking distance, again, you got Kono's, which is a great breakfast place. Been there for 30 years. We've been going there. We stay at a little hotel there. It used to be a real dive. Now they've upgraded it, but it was the cheapest thing on the beach. Pacific View Hotel. And then you've got Gordy's Tacos just down a ways there. He's also been there for 30 years. And all around there, you've got wonderful sights. You start going north, you get into La Jolla, Del Mar. You know, you can see the seals on the beach. Just a great place for a short vacation. And then, of course, the pier. If you're into fishing, you can walk out onto Crystal Beach Pier and do some fishing off of there as well.
I was just in San Diego for Christmas, and we actually went up north to go see some elephant seals up in Central Coast near Pismo Beach.
Oh, okay. All right. Also a good place.
But like the Del Mar area, everything like that, absolutely gorgeous too.
Looks like we got some people commenting already.
And it's from TikTok, no less. Good morning, TikTok from SJK 9988 IU from Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. Welcome. Another TikTok, Jason DeFoss
from California.
From California. He's saying good morning. First question. Did you see the new first responder video from ESA with Lucid?
I did not.
No.
That's
probably worth looking into.
Yeah, send us a link. We'd love to see that.
He also provided a link for us, so
What
we'll
a
check
guy.
it out after the show.
Oh, okay. We can pop that into the next podcast then. Yeah, anything related to that would be interesting.
Because that's big stuff. Because we're starting to see more commercial vehicles. CES just released some new larger trucks, aside from like the Tesla Semi, that are going to be more implemented in cities, that are going to be fully electric. Mm-hmm. And have you heard anything about the school bus systems that have already been implemented? And I believe it was, I think it was San Diego? It was another part of California. Mm-hmm. But there was a school district that bought several electric buses that actually had two-way power to sell electricity back to the city.
Oh, it's about time.
Guess how much money they were able to make selling for a year? I think was it a year? Might have been 3 months. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Less than a year. How much money do you think they made selling electricity back to the city?
Tell us.
$10,000.
Really? Okay.
$10,000 just in selling electricity back to the city.
Reduces the cost of the vehicle.
I mean, come on. How cool is that?
Yeah. You got it. Something Wong's asking, so he did a battery test on his Model Y. It came up showing 18% battery life. Is this good or bad? I don't know what the 18% parameter means.
I guess it depends on the test. If you mean like going from just a continuous one charge?
Or did it lose 18%? Or is 18% left? And how old is it? And we'll get some more questions. By the way,
Jason DeFoss is from Canada, not California. I'm
Canada.
so sorry.
Okay, yeah.
My apologies, Jason.
Here in the U.S., we use two-letter designations for the states.
I feel like California should be the one to change. Like, we'll all respect to Canada. We'll let you guys have that one. California can change.
Absolutely. So any of you that have questions related to deep technical stuff that we can't answer, our service center guys watch these podcasts every Tuesday and Thursday. And when they catch a question they will at times chime in. So if you have any direct questions for them, give it a shot. We'll see if we can get them to respond. And so they're also available. So we've got an expanded team here besides social media and ourselves here.
Yeah, I'm just here to look pretty, but these guys are actually intelligent. I'd love to spend more time with them.
All right, so I've got some news items here to start with, and then we can get back into questions. What happens if you stop an electric car on an incline? This was a Quora question. And, you know, the EVs are a lot easier to get going again than a piston gas car. I remember driving a rental car in San Francisco many, many years ago. I wanted a standard drive Mustang, just because of the, you know, the
It's
driving
cool.
experience there.
Oh, yeah.
But my God, the incline on some of those streets, trying to parallel park, and it got to be almost dangerous. So this is where an electric car just shines compared to a fossil fuel burner, especially a manual tranny. The wheels all have disc brakes as well as parking brakes. So to hold still on a hill, you depress they call it the gas pedal. It's an accelerator pedal. There is no more gas pedal in an EV. And then you just simply, so you depress your brake, and then you work your the accelerator pedal, depending on what you want to do. So you can do a smooth climb out of a San Francisco uphill parking place without any fuss or muss. And the EV has no tranny, so rarely is there any, or there is no gear to shift into. So the answer to that is EVs are much easier to drive than a fossil fuel burner if you're on a hilly or in a hilly environment.
I wonder if there's anything to the idea that if you're on an incline and you're providing pressure even backwards, I wonder if there's any sort of regen that it might hold from simply the motor itself.
There has to be rotation for it to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, is there any chance that the resistance put on that could recharge the brakes? No.
Yeah. But the other advantage with an EV is they have instant torque and horsepower, maximum at 0 RPM. So you're not going to need to spool up your engine. I remember I was in Europe one time, and I had one of these anemic vans. I was in Italy, and I was on an incline, and there was a pool behind me, and it was a little 4-banger engine in this thing, and it was all loaded up with people and luggage and all that.
Oh, yeah.
I had a hell of a time getting that thing to go forward without rolling back into the pool. But yeah, so EVs definitely rule in that category. Question from TikTok regarding our video. Jacob Russell, how does one get a job here? Well, you apply, and the email address you apply to is ev@gruber.com. Now, having said that, we don't have jobs outside of Phoenix, Arizona right now, so if you're willing to relocate or live in Phoenix, Arizona, please apply because we have openings for technicians. We don't know what to call them anymore. Are they mechanics? Are they engineers? Are they technicians? Because they really end up doing all three of those.
Yes.
So it's kind of a hybrid, yeah.
Can make a whole new term for it. Mm-hmm. Mechnician.
Right.
Good stuff. From Emmanuel Setness, how complex is Oh, this is a good question. How complicated is Vampire Drain?
Vampire Drain. Okay, well, you know, I go back to the Tesla Roadster here because that's what we have the most experience with that. Although you could also have some experience with the Model S in a very cold climate when it's trying to keep itself warm. The Vampire Drain in the summer here is pretty noticeable. Let me put it that way. I have VIN number 5 at the house, and I have to charge that like every 3-4 days because the pump is continuously running, cooling the battery, and it puts a drain on that propulsion battery. This time of year, it's wonderful. I charge maybe once every 2 weeks or so. So it depends on the climate that the car is in. But Vampire Drain is definitely something that occurs with EVs. There's a lot of demand for that power, and it's not just propulsion.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different ways to mitigate that. There's certain features, like in Teslas, if you have Sentry Mode, a lot of people will turn that off for a while to help. That one's actually, I heard, the most significant. Funny enough, probably because you're running the cameras constantly. But yeah, little things like that. It's kind of like in your own car. It's like you don't want to leave a in-cabin light on, or your headlights on.
Right.
Drains the 12 volts. Same principle. Mm-hmm. From our SJKQ98, friend. Not an electric question, but my Jeep Wrangler started to dead wobble. How can I fix that? Yeah, I think that's more of an actual mechanic question.
Yeah, not us. Jimmy Jo123, are you guys going to work on Rivian? You know, there's so many EV brands that are coming out now. Initially, we're so buried with Tesla work that we're not accepting any other brands at this point. But it's definitely the future because independent maintenance will definitely be the solution for manufacturers that are cranking out vehicles beyond their capacity to build their service delivery network. And it's coming, it's already here in most cases. And of course, the other thing with these new manufacturers, warranty issues. They can't catch everything during validation testing. The Tesla service centers were just jammed with warranty problems as they released all of their vehicles. But that's part of it. They're going to be very busy. So,
one thing also, Pete. Oh, I got a little echo on my mic here. Lucid, when I was telling you the other day about the job posting, they're hiring for a manager to cover third-party shops. So there isn't any information out yet on how to become an authorized Lucid shop, but it seems like some of these new manufacturers, EV manufacturers, are going to be using third-party shops.
Ain't that something? Like a little collaboration? Because Tesla's been
right?
really cool. Oh, yeah. No, it's cool. But it's cool that they recognize that because I feel like OEMs were never really about that. I don't know what the full history of that really is. That would be cool to look into. So, someone like Ford, like what was it like in the 50s to have an independent repair shop, as it was kind of up and coming?
Well, the thing with Ford, go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, they kind of cheated though. I mean, they set up dealerships. And the dealers handle service, so they were immune from those problems.
They have those dealerships still, right? So
very much so. Yeah,
it'll be easier to convert those to EVs than Lucid has to build all new everything, right?
Good point.
I've heard it's kind of the opposite, where it's like a lot of these EV startups are having to use ICE vehicle manufacturing plants, or formerly, like Rivian with a Mitsubishi plant, but it's in some cases it's actually harder to make that specifically for EVs just because the weights of things are different, the construction's a little bit different. So it's actually somewhat easier to start from scratch in some places.
Convert something.
But it's like at the same time, it's like and to Ford's credit, they've been very driven in regards to dealerships in creating a whole new system and basically copying the Tesla model and saying to their existing dealers like, hey, this is what we're doing, and if you're not playing by the rules of the good dealers, you're out. And I appreciate that.
Ford's actually doing well. They got a lot of cars, a lot of EVs on the road. They got the Lightning and the Mach-E.
Yeah, they're killing it with that. It's been fascinating. And it's funny, there was another story that came out with Lincoln dealers that had kind of a similar issue where it's like you've got just a couple of these independent Lincoln dealers that aren't really doing anything, and Ford's just like, we can buy you out if you want, or not. Hey, they give them the option, but. And there's in fact, speaking of Rivian, there's a service center literally right up the road from us. So hopefully we'll get to interact with them more often.
2 miles away.
Little collaboration. That'd be cool. They're really nice people. I went to stop in, a few months ago, and they were just like the coolest people. Let us tour around a bit, and yeah, super cool people.
Yeah, this whole new EV space is brand new, and the myopic, short-sighted, competitive issues have not yet crept into it. There's a lot of collaboration, which is great.
Let me read that thing I read to you this morning because it applies. And Zane, you can get a kick out of this too. We got a comment on one of our old videos. Sorry, I haven't been putting my camera on.
There you are.
So let me read this to you guys. So it says, this is a comment from our old video. It says, so basically, you need a computer science degree, an electrician's apprenticeship, to be strong enough to torque off the locks.
Like
I'm
wheel
not sure what
locks?
that means. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
and then
okay.
it says that's about 8 years of education plus being in decent shape. The pay better be close to $200,000 per year because that's basically a doctor's education length. I see major problems ahead for the electric vehicle industry.
Yeah, and as I pointed out, when you read that to me, it's again a strong argument for the disruption is coming. It's coming fast. And smart cars is about the only way we're going to be able to meet that kind of demand. One of our videos, actually, we've got one that the Mechanic of the Future video that's out on our YouTube channel, And interesting stat there was that there's 780,000 mechanics in the United States that are used to wrenching, working on transmissions and exhaust systems and fuel delivery and all that. How do we get that many people to switch over to doing electronics work, EVs, working in software?
If at all, yeah. I think it's more like, having to start from scratch. And to that guy's point, it's like if you are starting from scratch, it could be 8 years. It could just be you've been around it long enough to pass the test.
Yeah.
Kind of catch me if you can. It's a little bit.
We've got a YouTube question from Exploration.
Hey. He was on our last show. Welcome back.
Have you guys been to Starbase, Boca Chica, Texas? And we have not, our team, but we have a collaborative partner, Jessica Kirsch, who basically lives there. She actually went there with a camper at one point, and every day you'd see her out there, looking for some sort of content. But if you're interested, check up her channel. She's definitely all over YouTube. Jessica Kirsch, Kirsh.
Yep, I think she's still out there.
Yeah.
Good for her. From Gary Mark from Facebook, hello from Toronto, big fan here. On TikTok, there was a guy with a 2013 Model S making a big stink about his battery replacement. He was trying to sell that car as far as I remember.
Was he?
I remember that guy. The AC condenser was draining over the BMS, and supposedly, and killed the whole system. How common is that issue for an old Model S?
Well, we have a cause-effect issue here. I think the assumption is that the condensate dripping from the AC on top of the battery eventually breached the battery and rusted through the bolts. It's a steel cover with steel bolts. They didn't use stainless steel. It was a huge problem, but I'm not sure, no one's really sure until we get that battery and open it up. Was it really that what caused it? Because there are other reasons that the batteries will fail. But this was a guy that was making a big stink on what platform?
It was on TikTok.
TikTok, okay. I can understand why they would be angry, especially if they were led to believe that it was the condensate problem. It seems like that's a manufacturing defect.
And we've talked about before how certain EVs do have a lot of condensation. And in fact, in some parking garages, that they actually stopped people from parking their EVs in there because of the amount of water that was coming out of them, which is kind of insane to me. I didn't realize they would cause that much condensation.
Humid environment, sure. I mean, before an AC unit can cool, it has to remove moisture. So it does that extremely well, and you get a lot of water typically. Got a question here. Will an electric-powered VTOL airliner, vertical takeoff and landing, for inner-city transport be feasible? Well, that question asked in probably a decade or two will be, of course. Look at them. They're all over the place, right? The problem with vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, we're basically talking about big drones now that are able to handle people or, act as a car fundamentally. Is the weight, the battery weight. The amount of batteries that you would need are much heavier than the weight of an equivalent amount of jet fuel. And that's fundamentally why planes are still using fossil fuel burning jet fuel or whatever else they're using.
And there's also a case to be made for hydrogen powered planes because of that reason, where they have the space, they're larger vehicles, so they have the space to store more hydrogen to get them from place to place. And it's a lot more efficient that way. So we could see more hydrogen-powered jets in our lifetime, I bet. From Jason DeFoss in Canada, from a first responder perspective, this is kind of going back to that first responder EVs. Interacting with EVs, is there a rapid drain to reduce the state of charge? Like that's a good concern. You don't want to have a fire truck that's can only charge to, say, 80% over its lifetime. But that'll be a good question to find out, I think, as we continue to incorporate electric vehicles into these first responder fleets.
Well, we had a fireman here about 3-4 weeks ago or so with the Hall of Flame here locally, which is the world's largest fire truck museum, by the way. Well worth seeing if you come to Phoenix, if you're into this. But he was mentioning that fire trucks, a lot of fire departments are now intrigued by the notion of EV fire trucks. And he said the first problem that they're trying to solve is, what if you've had a fire and you suddenly get another fire, and you don't have enough time to recharge your batteries.
Right.
You've just idled the equipment that is going to put out those fires. So until we get to a point, I think, where charging times get substantially reduced, which we're headed that way, at this point, it looks like that could be a liability for a first responder type operation.
I'm telling you, if we have, I'm assuming, this could happen in specifically city areas. Inductive charging in the streets. Keep it on the charger, that way you have no power loss.
So
that thing will just keep going.
So are we saying that fire hydrants now are actually becoming electrical connections instead of water? Or both, in this case.
How cool would that be?
Well, on the topic of first responders in EVs, we actually have a fire truck that was posted on Reddit earlier today, showing the LAPD or LAFD's first electric fire truck. And
like fully electric, huh?
Yeah.
Hey,
so
can we show that?
It's got a BMW engine in it for backup.
Okay.
Backup alone. So
it's basically an angrier i3.
Basically, yeah. What's the image number? FT1, FT2, and FT3 for the pictures here. But I'm gonna pull it up here.
While you guys are pulling it up on YouTube, Seeker Poppy. Hi Pete, this is your cousin from Australia. Stay safe and keep up the good work.
Whoa!
I have cousins in Australia. My family history is kind of interesting.
Oh, very cool.
During World War II, they scattered. They were in a very dangerous place for Germans at that time in the Ukraine. And of course, as Germany went to war with Russia, that was a lethal place to be. So they scattered, and I have cousins in Canada, U.S. of course, Australia, and still some in Europe, and still some in Russia.
Oh, wow.
If that's one of my cousins, welcome, and let us know what part of Australia you're in, and then I'll know which one you are.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. We have quite a reach, don't we? It's a small world. Yeah.
It is. It's a small, wonderful world.
Okay, I'm pulling that up for you guys now.
Hey, here we go.
We're getting a picture. There we go.
Sweet. Look at that.
And the company that this fireman was telling us about that makes these electric fire trucks is in Austria. And apparently the city of Los Angeles bought one, but had a hell of a time keeping it. Customs problems, tax problems.
Oh, sure.
So they ended up shipping it back to Austria. I think we're going to have to get the details on that because it sounds pretty insane. But
yeah, right.
How bureaucracies are. Things like that happen.
Oh my gosh. I mean, look at that thing. How cool is that? I heard one thing too. Another naysayer was like, well, if it's electric and it's around fires, it's going to catch fire. I'm like, we never had that problem with combustion cars.
Yeah.
Like, those things run on explosions. We've been doing just fine.
So, for those of you curious about why there's a shirtless guy behind me drinking beer in front of a little house like this, again, to reiterate, this is a house. It's 150 feet from Pacific Beach in San Diego by Crystal Pier. And I was walking by this guy who was chilling and enjoying himself and started a conversation. And he said he bought this shack for $1.8 million. It's less than 500 square feet, but it's all about location. And within walking distance of Kono's, Gordy's Tacos, Del Mar is just north of there, La Jolla, beautiful parts of California, all along the coast there, US 1. So a house like that, even though it's small, it looks like he has an enviable lifestyle there. That's what that's all about. Another question that came up was, what could be a major cause of an electric car suddenly stopping, even though it has a full battery charge and everything else seems fine with it? Well, this is something that I found out from Lucid a few weeks ago. Apparently, they have problems with the cars just simply stopping on the freeway, not brake type stopping, but losing power, and they have to pull off onto the exit ramp and then, start things up again. The problem, it turns out, is the Prindle stalk is sometimes confused with the windshield wiper stalk, and it usually happens during heavy rains when they think they're controlling the windshield wipers and they throw the car in neutral, removing propulsion power. So then the owners report loss of power while driving, and of course it becomes a warranty issue and all that.
Which is that's still one of the funniest stories to me, because I'm like, there's gotta be a spot on the dash somewhere that will tell you you're in neutral.
Yeah.
I don't think they would ignore that.
I mean...
the guys at Lucid.
Yeah, why not just put an Alexa function in there, and Alexa says, or whatever the talking function in the car is, you've just thrown yourself in neutral. Please go back into drive if you want to continue driving.
Can you imagine your shift? Well, because I mean, imagine if it was a placebo stick shift that had that, and you're in first, second, third, fourth.
Right.
Just like, shut up.
Question there from YouTube. Man Ketnas, can Tesla push firmware updates over the cellular network?
Over LTE? Maybe.
Yeah, it's...
Because you can have wireless in Teslas. That's a part of their subscription service, I'm pretty sure.
Isn't that what it already is?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because you don't have to have Wi-Fi to...
Well, no, yeah, that's what it already... You guys all do the 4G updates in the cars, right?
I believe they do. It's with the Roadsters that they lost connectivity because it was a 2G system, and that's, of course, been dead.
Right, and now it's gone.
All across the world, except Russia, I think they still use 2G.
Hey.
I'm pretty sure it's all through 4G right now, through the older version of 4G.
Cool. All right, so...
real quick, Pete, sorry, I want to interrupt you real quick. Let me pull my audience view up. I'm going to show the audience that we are currently on Spotify now.
Yes!
Oh, okay, there we are.
Remind you guys a couple times throughout the show here, but we have made it onto Spotify. We got approved. And you
Magnificent!
You can actually also watch video. So it'll be audio only if you want to do audio only, but there's also video. And we
No way!
About the last 15 or so episodes on here, and we'll be adding more. And then we'll also be getting on Apple Podcasts here pretty soon as well.
Awesome.
You guys are amazing.
I just found out which cousin it
best.
is. It's my cousin in Hobart, Tasmania. My oldest Australian cousin. I have a few there.
Hey!
And his name is Peter. That's right.
Keep it in the family.
Peter Hummer. Welcome, and it's good seeing that you're able to watch our podcast.
And now you can do it on Spotify too. I'm still psyched about that.
The interesting thing about Peter was we both lived in Rosenheim, or just outside there, during the same time. He was, I think, a couple years older than I was, and they emigrated to Australia before we left. We left a little while later. But yeah, it's the Bavarian culture is definitely in our blood. All right.
Cool.
So I've got another news item here. This was a fatal crash in Palm Beach. Lucid was involved, and it was right around New Year's. The thing that's noteworthy about this particular crash, and which gives EVs such a bad name, was the car apparently was speeding, was going way too fast for the street, and actually ended up hitting a palm tree, snapping it in half, so the palm tree was gone, but then it hit a concrete wall.
Ooh.
And once that happened, it hit it with enough force where the battery caught fire, the main propulsion battery, and the occupants could not get out of the car. Again, one of those tragic things that makes the headlines. One of the witnesses there, or the observers, said the fire was going 30 feet in the air. So this is one of the downsides of lithium-ion batteries. It happens, and hopefully we will have technology soon that will get rid of this kind of fire risk.
It also shows something, because you hear a story like this and you might think it's common. The fact that they make a story about it at all shows that it's not as common as you think. I mean, this is a particular case where they were speeding, so it was driver error. But in regards to other EVs, I mean, the Model Y and the Rivian R1T are the highest rated safe vehicles in 2022. Mm-hmm. So it's not an EV problem.
Yeah, and then there are other accidents that you just say it didn't catch on fire. Do you remember the car that dropped over 250 feet into rocks?
Yeah, right.
And no fire. Granted there was water, but the issue with lithium ion, it's not an extinguishable fire, even though it was water.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, and it's an aberration, it's an abnormality, and it certainly is not indicative of the standard problems that you have with EVs.
And it still provides a great opportunity for the engineers to take that situation and say, we can learn from this. And it's still tragic, and our thoughts and prayers are with everybody involved. But it goes to show that, hey, there's still room for improvement even now, and there's still more to look forward to.
Yeah. From YouTube, Real Gamer.
Real gamer.
Can a long-range battery pack for a 2020 Tesla Model 3 last 200,000 miles? Love the show, by the way. Appreciate the content, and I'm sure the best is yet to come. Yeah, we're having fun with this show, and you're right. The best is yet to come. We keep on hitting other platforms.
We just got the Spotify, but there's no stopping us now.
And we've got guests that we're planning on bringing into these in the future, and we continue to improve production quality. The social media team is just awesome. You can't see them, but they're over here on our left, and once in a while they chime in. But they are an awesome team. So the question is, can the car last 200,000 miles? Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah. The vehicle itself, except for some interior wear, what someone had pointed out, you can always replace seats and leather and carpet and that type of thing. But EVs definitely have a much longer lifespan than an ICE vehicle because there's so fewer moving parts. Now, one of the ways to take care of your battery is, stay away from the extremes. Don't take it down to 10 miles or do full charging. Superchargers are definitely take a toll on the batteries. They're convenient. On a trip, knock yourself out. But if you live in an apartment and have no way to charge, don't go to that supercharger every single day. It's not going to make your battery very happy.
And most people that do that, I know some apartment dwellers that have EVs, they'll only charge, once a week when they actually need to, and they'll do, say, 10% to 80% charge, and then good to go, something like that. But still, you're right. You want to be careful about your battery degradation and things like that. But most of these Teslas are rated for over 400,000 miles. The Model S, I keep doing my window shopping on these things, and all the components in there are rated for 400,000 miles. We were talking like a few minutes ago, at the beginning of the show, about some of the warranties on these cars. And I was watching a Scotty Kilmer video. Big love for Scotty Kilmer. We're big fans of his. But he was pointing out how a lot of these automakers are making components that are supposed to wear out exactly when the warranty ends. That's one of the oldest tricks in the book. Nobody's surprised that they do that. But for the most part, aside from some of the wear and tear on these Teslas, you'll see some things like some software issues that they've just put an OTA update for. If they're counting that as a repair, then they have a lot of repairs, but nothing hardware-based tends to go particularly wrong unless it's like significantly bad. So it's kind of funny how, especially on these Model S's, you can go 400,000 miles pretty easily.
I've always been puzzled by this planned obsolescence strategy of, building in a failure. Just past warranty. That's pretty risky when you think about it. What if it happens 2 weeks before the warranty expired?
Because a lot of them do.
Yeah. But anyway, do you think it's possible? This is from YouTube, Man Ketnes. Do you think it's still possible to repair newer types of Tesla batteries with that new foam?
Yeah, especially with structural battery packs. That's gonna be fun.
We have not had an opportunity to do our magic and reverse engineering on one of those battery packs. And, until we do, the jury's out at this point. I can't tell you. This is the type of thing, though, that our company does best, which is solve these kind of engineering challenges. On the flip side, the guys making this stuff have engineering challenges. We have it on the tail end.
Exactly.
Which is how to figure out how to maintain it and keep it running. Turns out YouTube, Man Ketnes also says they still have 2G here in Germany. I'm disappointed. Get rid of it.
It's an option. It's there. I don't know if it's a good option, but it's an option.
All right, so I got another news item here. Always the innovator, this article says. Elon Musk claims that the idea of megacasting came to him one day when he was considering a die-cast toy car on his desk. Very much like our Model S here, or the Tesla Roadster, the new one. Can you guys pop up that picture of that Giga Press?
Can you believe this guy's responsible for making a Model Y cast in 34 seconds?
Yep.
I was just listening to Monroe and Associates about that. We thought it was 40. 34 seconds, they can print the actual body out.
So, the idea of using die-cast parts in the construction of motor vehicles is not new. The alternative to that is machining something, which of course gets extremely expensive. You start with a chunk of billet aluminum and then you whittle away everything that you don't want. A lot of machining and very expensive. So what is new, however, with this die casting of automotive parts, large parts, is the scale or the size of the casting. They say imagine 3 castings spanning the entire underbody of a vehicle, for example. Infinitely cheaper than welding and machining and fabricating to make that part. The company that Tesla has selected is an Italian company in Brescia, which has been working on a Giga Press since 2017. It's a company called IDRA, and they were focused on the potential of making lightweight structural megacasting for electric vehicle applications. They had some vision and foresight. They saw that this massive wave of new vehicles is coming, apparently. Congratulations. So a typical Giga Press from IDRA is 60 feet long, 24 feet wide, and 18 feet high. It's as big as a house.
Yeah, and that's a house.
And that monstrosity that you see up there weighs 950,000 pounds. That's almost 1 million pounds.
Yeah.
It has there's some other specs here. It has a rated clamping force of 6,000 metric tons. Now, what this allows is Tesla or any auto manufacturer, Volvo apparently is also investing in this type of equipment. It allows them to produce, the entire frame, for example, in 2 halves, which in the Cybertruck is in the works or in the plans. It can be produced quicker. It reduces the weight of the car. All win-wins. So the automakers are all on board with this. It will reduce the number of pressings in the case of just one vehicle, one Tesla vehicle. I think this is the Model Y, from 70 to just 1. And the other cool thing about this is the way this works is they take molten aluminum, they inject it into the, I have my specs here and it looks like I lost that. There it is. To produce a rear megacasting for a Model Y, it is a 180-pound shot of molten aluminum injected into a cold chamber, the casting mold, at a velocity of 22 miles an hour. I mean, if you're standing by that, you can barely see a blur going by you. Yeah. And then a cycle time of about 80 to 90 seconds, and out comes a casting. They can produce 1,000 of these per day with just this one machine.
How many facilities actually have Giga Presses? There's Giga Texas, right? I think they have a Giga Press.
That's where they're being installed right now.
Yes. And then there's one in Shanghai, I believe.
I'm not sure.
That'd be insane if they. I think that's like how they got the 4-second number from the pressing. But there's not too many of these things. There's not too many. They're making more.
Yeah, Tesla is actually also using the other robots, the KUKA robots. I think we showed those in the last podcast. So combined with this, and then the humanoid robots in factories, it looks like the level of automation is rapidly beginning to increase. And what I find interesting is that the mature auto manufacturers, who you would think that Tesla would be attempting to model and learn from, are following Tesla's lead, like Volvo with this large die casting. So again, hats off to Tesla for being market leaders and having vision and boldly, trying new things.
To boldly flee where no one has gone before.
I've heard that before.
From Outback EV Hunter on YouTube, welcome back. Great to see you great to be here from Central Australia again. We have a winery here. It's the first commercial site using vehicle-to-grid and a new Nissan Leaf. It's got solar, 3-phase power, and a vehicle-to-grid unit. Yeah. No Tesla that is against using vehicle-to-grid due to warranty. But what's the chance that they would, or some third party? would come along to allow reverse current flow in DC charge mode with older models that are now out of warranty. So that's a good idea, using these out of warranty batteries. They're thinking, hey, we're not going to throw them in a battery graveyard, and maybe they won't go to redwood materials. What else can we do with them? Rivian's kind of doing a similar thing where they're taking all their old batteries and they're going to start putting them in essentially desert houses where they can siphon all that power and make giant grids. This is another version of that.
What is amazing to me is that actually one of the legacy auto manufacturers, Ford, what have they been around? Over 100 years, right? Actually has a leg up on Tesla with their F-150 Lightning. It's not V2G, vehicle to grid or to the utility.
But it is vehicle to home.
To house, yeah, or home. And this was proven during the hurricane seasons that we just recently had, where there were people that had a Ford F-150 Lightning in their home, were able to plug in their freezers and their life support, basically, some heaters. And one of them, I think, ran for over 3 days to handle a power outage because of Hurricane Ian, I think it was. So the question, the original question was, is Tesla going to jump on board? I don't think they can avoid it. You know, Tesla had the opportunity to put V2G in the Roadster because the clone or the model test mule for the Roadster was the AC Propulsion Systems T0, which had V2G. It had bidirectional.
Oh, I did not know that. I didn't know it had bidirectional.
It was way ahead of its time. It also had regen braking, which of course they did copy and put into the Roadsters. So yeah, I think it's just a question of time. They're not going to be able to avoid it. Bill Wood, TikTok, how many moving parts on a Tesla? You know, the statistic that I keep hearing is 2,000 parts in an ICE vehicle, 18 to 20 in an EV.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's substantially less. Instagram, Soul to Stone. Morning, gentlemen. Thank you for the chat again.
Hey,
you're more than welcome.
Good to see you again. From Fly Guy on YouTube Shorts. Hey guys, my girlfriend's looking to get a Genesis GV70. Are you guys expanding beyond Tesla battery repairs? Currently not yet.
You know, the other answer to that, though, is Fly Guy. You're not going to need to take that to an independent maintenance shop. You're
Not
gonna
for
have,
a while.
She's going to have warranty for quite some time. And the shops like ours, we handle out of warranty customers. You know, the difference clearly is we're going to charge, the warranty centers are not. So we would not see that vehicle for some time. And by the time those come off warranty, we may have expanded into many of the other platforms, which, by the way, I say this often, that's where we started. We didn't have enough Tesla business, well, at least originally, and we were fixing Priuses, hybrids, Ford Fusions, Chevy Bolts, you know, any of those vehicles other than Tesla at the time.
Very cool. We got another YouTube comment from Mankitness. Will we see chip tuning on a Tesla to get more power if needed, or can we expect something like what's the EV equivalent of tuned engines? This has been a really fun thing to think about.
It is. But you know, I can't imagine the manufacturers are going to give you those options because of liability
That's going to be
issues.
third party. It's going to be some guy coming along and be like, hey, I got this new board.
Right.
It overwrites the, you know, the whatever, so you can still have your Tesla OS. I mean, I've been saying it for a long time. The future of EVs, since they're going to just be computers on wheels, are more independent operating systems. And we're already seeing that. Actually, Tesla, or Cindy Monroe had mentioned that at CES. That there are more operating systems that are coming out. I didn't even know this, so I thought Tesla's was not just Linux-based. It's actually based on BlackBerry. I had no idea the BlackBerry wasn't even in the game still, but it's the BlackBerry guys that are still pushing out, you know, operating systems like Linux and things like that. And so, yeah, you've got more space in the industry to provide those avenues. So we can see people start to kind of developing these independent parts and repairs, or excuse me, just parts that you can swap out if you want to do something like chip tuning and things like that. I think that's going to be more the future. It's going to be like, you know, if you build a computer and you swap out like a graphics card or your RAM or things like that, and you can get creative with how you do that.
It looks like Nulvers is back. Nulvers 53 from YouTube. His question is V2G or vehicle to grid? He's
also
had it referred to as
called
vehicle to load.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
there we
another
go.
way to.
Is that a feature that can be added to an EV through a software update, or are there additional components required? The answer there is additional components are required.
Yes.
The simplest way of making it just one path would be to use a diode in a DC circuit. A diode will only let current pass one way. In order to have it pass both ways, you eliminate the diode and you suddenly, have a bidirectional path. But it does require software. It requires monitoring the voltages. It requires sensing whether the voltages are synchronized. There's a whole host of additional technology that is required to do V to G properly.
I wonder if that means that they're either going to need to be beefier internal computers, or that they'll have a separate computer almost exclusively for that.
It could be written right into the firmware because the computers in the EVs are complex and elaborate. It's not much different than your desktop computer. You simply get different applications to run on that, but the hardware remains the same.
Very cool.
So here's an interesting stat that I came across this week. This whole 0 to 60 time, right? All of these manufacturers are attempting to come up with the best 0 to 60s to make themselves more memorable. Lucid now, for example, has one of the fastest sedans on the planet, and that is the Sapphire. The Sapphire does a 0 to 60 in 1.89 seconds. Of course, this guy, when it comes out, without the thrusters was 1.99. Now, with thrusters, there aren't any stats yet. It's probably blackout speeds with a lot of G-forces, and they won't be fit for human
I was about to
consumption.
say, like, you're going to need to...
But let me give you a
Wear a
perspective
helmet.
on this. The 0 to 60 times now, 0 to 60 in the 3-second range was really unheard of with internal combustion engine cars, unless you put Mickey Thompson slicks on the back of your car, turbocharged blowers on it, all that, and you could get up into the 1,000 horsepower plus range.
You're just making a dragster. But yeah.
So how does 3-second 0 to 60 times relate to other G-forces exerted on humans? And what I was fascinated with is it's the equivalent of a free fall. You jump out of a building and you're going to hit 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. So when you're driving that car that has an insane acceleration capability, it's pretty much like dropping yourself off of a horizontal cliff.
I got to go skydiving a couple of years ago. That was very cool. Would do again. But it's insane to me, like how, because you're going in a plane that's going, I think,
140 miles an
something
hour,
like that.
170.
And by the time you're up there and you jump out, you just feel like you're moving. You don't realize that you're going over 60 miles an hour just fall. It's unreal.
I took the class when I went skydiving on my 40th birthday. I decided I wanted to do that. So I jumped on my Ninja 600, middle of summer, it's hotter than heck, drove about 60 miles out to a place west of here, and took a 4-hour class because I didn't want to be coupled to some dude.
Oh, there you go.
I wanted the singular
wow,
experience.
okay,
right?
wow. I went tandem. You did the whole thing.
So I had this big, pack strapped on my back. I think the thing weighed just under 100 pounds or something. And the jump master, now what I had to do was, there was an open door on the side of this biplane. We were up, I went up to 10,000 feet. I had 2 options, 6,000 and 10,000.
Yeah, you got to go
10. And now my task was to climb out onto the wing and hang off the strut.
Oh,
All
okay.
right? With a head wind of about 140 miles an hour. So every bone in your body is saying, this is not a good idea. This is not something you want to do. So it took enormous amounts of self-discipline to get myself out on that wing and hang off that strut. And then you have thoughts like, do I really want to do this? But yet, what are my other options? And there are none,
there.
because I've got a 140 mile an hour headwind, a heavy pack, and there's no way I'm going to be able to clamber back up into that plane.
Nope.
So now the next thing was, the jump master was going to give me a thumbs up if it was time for me to let go. All right. So he finally gives me that thumbs up, which I was dreading at that point because I'm thinking, this is insane. And as soon as he gave me that thumbs up, I tried to unclench my wrists, and every bone in my body said, no, we're not doing this.
Oh, no.
So it's like, and then I thought, well, what are the other options? They can't land with me hanging off of this wing because I'm going to be scraping the, the tarmac. So finally, I mustered enough insanity to open up my hands, and then dropped about 100 feet or so before an automatic static line released my chute.
Oh my gosh.
Because the first time you jump, they don't know if you're going to black out. They don't know if you're going to be able to have the presence of mind to pull your own chute, right?
We got this guy through 1 4-hour class. We're going to see what happens.
So I free fell for about maybe 80 or 100 feet or so and got that thrill. But then from there, it was easy going. You got these little pull things, and you kind of steer. And
the guy I jumped with let me do the whole,
Yeah, and they give you a two-way radio, so they're talking to you at the time.
Oh, that's
telling
cool.
you, all right, go left, go right, or watch out for that saguaro cactus. But I definitely recommend it, by the way. If you want to push yourself to the limits, skydiving, at least
that'll do it.
Definitely something to do.
That will do it. My coworker
We're
goes
at 55 minutes.
Man, time flies by. Flies by. Hey, how about that? I got a coworker who does skydiving constantly, so.
All right, Chris
get a kick
Barker
out of
from
that.
YouTube. I have a 2018 Model 3, 8,000 miles. Do I need to replace the 12-volt battery soon? The batteries in these EVs last about, in Phoenix at least, with the extreme heat, about a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
The reason they don't last as long in an EV as they do in an ICE vehicle is, in an ICE vehicle, your battery goes to sleep after it starts the car because the alternator takes over and provides the 12 volts, charges the battery. In an EV, that 12-volt battery works 24/7. You've got computers that need to stay live. You've got locks. You've got security systems. You've got, cameras. So they get a bit more of a workout. The simple answer to that is wait until you get alerts, and you have plenty of time from alert 1 to when you finally change it. And we're talking about weeks before you have to change it.
Yeah, that's not so bad. I do think about how it's kind of funny that they still have, well, we've talked about how kind of funny it is that they still have the 12-volt system, and I think that's a good thing, because that way you have something that you can swap in and out, and so on and so forth. But
so, from Mighty Ford Ranger, he says, how old are these parts that you're working on? Seems like Teslas have a longevity problem. There are initial design problems with any new product. And we were just talking about this with a customer this morning. He said, why does my door handles keep failing on my Model S? I said, well, because it's an over-engineered part, but it's cool. The engineers originally went to Elon and said, Elon, this is not going to be an easy task. It's full of micro switches. You've got weather conditions. It's going to get hit with water. You've got all these moving parts, right? And but Elon, being Elon, said, I want presenting door handles. He wanted that sensation of walking up to a car, having it present. There's almost a communication that takes place at that point. And of course, the aerodynamics. I know it's small, but door handles sticking out the sides of your car do put some drag on the car.
the rear view mirrors are next.
Yeah, those are going away too. But to make a long story short, there are certain parts in a Tesla or in any new EV that are going to have a higher failure rate. And they'll continue to improve the parts. The window regulators on the Teslas, for example, is another problem. Same customer, by the way, he says, I bought your aluminum ferrules, took out that plastic version, and the thing's working just fine now for some time. Yeah.
Nice.
But, okay, generally, the question is, do Teslas have longevity problems? Not really. There's so many fewer moving parts. I would, pitting a EV up against an ICE vehicle, you're going to have a lot more problems with an ICE vehicle or a fossil fuel burner than an EV. It's
kind of ironic because as you were saying, like there are certain moving parts in Teslas that are unique to Teslas, like the presenting door handles, but you're going to, that compared to, something else under the hood of an ICE vehicle, that has to constantly move back and forth. Yeah.
Looks like we got a TikTok question all the way from Denmark.
Hey!
Welcome. Yeah, it's Fleming. Price for a new battery pack for Model 3 long range from 2019. I don't know what that is because I explain this often. We don't see a lot of later model under warranty Teslas unless they want aftermarket stuff installed, or it's a salvage car that can't have warranty. So I don't know what that is, but I would venture to say that it's probably comparable to the Tesla Model S battery replacement packs, which are around $20,000 to $22,000, especially for a long range, like he described.
I just wanted to check really quick. Did we answer Solarstone's question here?
Did we?
Cells.
Here we go. Okay. Yeah, I feel like it's a quick one because we've answered this before. So, Solarstone, how come the batteries in Teslas can't just be disconnected? Can't just disconnect the bad cell or bypass itself?
Okay. There's a good reason for that. You've got 7,000 cells in that car. You could create electronics and sensing circuits that sense all 7,000 cells, but then the sensing circuit would be larger than the battery and an enormous additional cost. So the cost-effective way to handle that is to cluster the cells into bricks, all parallel connected, and then monitor the brick level, which is infinitely less. In a Tesla Roadster, for example, you have 99 bricks versus 6,831 cells, which if you're monitoring them individually, would give you the ability to do what Soulstone 2 or Soul 2 Stone describes. It's just a cost problem. The future, I think the packs will be larger, and we will have sensing circuits going to each brick, basically, or a collection of cells.
Or if we go to solid state, then...
Yeah, or we won't even have a collection of cells.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you, Jason. Thanks, fellas, for sharing your knowledge, and thank you for joining us. I think I think we're about to wrap up.
Yeah, I think we are.
So thank you all so much for sending us your questions. It's always fun to get to talk to you guys. It's been a great show. Thank you all.
By the way, one change that we did make in this episode was to encourage those of you that have questions directly for our service center to ask them. Those guys, it turns out, I found out this morning, watch our podcast, and they're able to chime in at times. We'll eventually, with our social media gurus here, have the ability to do something direct where they'll have a computer over there, they see questions, and they can actually chime in from the service center.
How cool.
And have a camera over there. That doesn't seem to be too hard either.
That would be very cool.
But our goal is to make it collaborative, to provide maximum, the best information for our audience, and keep you guys in tune with what's going on in the EV space.
And don't forget about Spotify. I'm going to pull that up one more time.
Spotify.
Hey, I'm not going to forget about Spotify. I'm still so psyched about that. How cool is that?
We are live on Spotify. And the other thing, if you want to review any of these podcasts, Jesse and team does a very good job of putting date and time stamps on the actual podcast.
Oh, so nice.
If there's a particular subject that you want more clarification on, now you can actually go to that podcast video on our YouTube channel and see just the portion that you were interested in. Again, an improvement in our production quality.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah. Well, today is Tuesday, so we'll have another podcast in 2 days, Thursday at 8:30 a.m. And again, we really appreciate you guys joining us. It's a lot of fun for us, and I hope it's as much fun for you.
Yes,
Thank you.
8:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for everybody watching that might be out of state or out of country. 8:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we love to get to see you guys on Thursday.
We'll see you then. Thanks for joining us.